노약해야 고라나의 나고라야소. And right, we can't give to others what we haven't really been able to give to ourselves first. It just doesn't work. If you're like me, like at one point, I was someone who just at one point was looking to get all of my validation for anyone and anything outside of myself. I had no clue as to how to start to love myself, love the parts that I dismissed, love the parts that I told I should be ashamed about, love the parts that made me feel uncomfortable. I had to bring all of that awareness back into myself and create a really sacred space to return back into my own wholeness. And this was difficult at many times because I did get the social conditioning and from people who I was close to a reflection of you're just being selfish. Like just thinking about yourself is selfish. Ugh. And that's such a frustrating experience to have reflected at you when literally this whole time you were not even connected to yourself. So then when you told you're being selfish for trying to have a healthy relationship with your own internal landscape instead of hating on yourself, it can feel a little bit like confusing, basically. Like, am I doing the right thing? And what I want to impart on you today is yes, absolutely. You are doing the right thing to begin to prioritize having a healthy relationship with all aspects of yourself, reclaiming union within. And I would argue this is the most sacred thing that you can truly do as being a human who also has a soul, and you're beginning to trust where life is guiding you and who you're meant to learn from and the different experiences you're meant to have that bring you deeper into that true union and true unconditional love within. I believe that life is offering us a sacred invitation every single day. We have a sacred invitation when we open our eyes from our night's sleep to live a full day, to explore the day, to focus on what lights us up, to allow ourselves to really take time to feel ourselves, to maybe heal ourselves, to express ourselves in ways that we didn't in the past because we were told it was wrong or shameful or we were judged by it. We're reclaiming all of that and returning into the sacredness that is this life. And, one of the number one things that keeps us from even being able to sense the sacredness is fear. Y'all know fear is everywhere, right? We get it from the news. If you actually listen in on how the news communicates, it's so fear-based that it's feeding into the energy that we're kind of digesting. A lot of marketing strategies are based off of fear. We get conditioning from our parents, from, whatever maybe scarcity living or trauma that was passed on through generations, all fear-based, right? Adults have a protective mechanism in them. Oftentimes there's a protector that wants to come through, but it's coming from a sense of fear. So in childhood, that's what we kind of absorb, that we have to always be on alert, right? And hypersensitive and fearing this person, that person, blah, 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 blah. And then snap forward a few decades, we're in our adulthood And we're still in that fear relationship with life. And yes, it's totally normal. And yes, we need fear. Specifically, let's say it's called actually, what happens is our sympathetic nervous system activates within our body where adrenaline rushes through our body, our heart rate starts to increase, cortisol starts to flood through our system. And we've had this since the cave woman and man era, when basically there would be a big animal nearby, and we would need the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, to trigger, so we would have enough adrenaline to run the opposite way. Well, we still have this as part of our system, but it looks a little different these days, because when we get that activated, we're not actually moving it through. We're just kind of sitting in it, letting that fear subliminally like be absorbed into our frequency, into our energy. And without even realizing it, sometimes it runs our life. So we don't necessarily want to get rid of that mechanism, that natural mechanism that does protect us from the inside out. It's wonderful. It works so intelligently. It's beautiful. It's perfect. But what we want to start to create a relationship with is being more aware, more mindful of how much we're letting fear dictate how we show up in life. Recognizing how much we let fear dictate what we do or do not say and communicate. Who would you be, even if you knew fear was a part of the journey and a part of what makes us human? Who would you be if you knew that fear could be a part of the experience, but wasn't the ultimate truth? On a mental and emotional level, I think we can start to hold fear in a different way in our bodies. We can start to alchemize and allow fear to almost be part of that internal compass, to show us, where have we been keeping ourselves back? Where have we been believing things that don't actually align with who we know ourselves to be at our core, right? And when we actually meet ourselves in the fear, when we allow ourselves to not get caught up in it and do the thing that was felt so fearful, ooh, what's on the other side? Evidence that you're still okay. Evidence that you got through it. And hey, even better than you thought. This is, I believe, our sacred duty, our sacred responsibility to take back maybe what the world took from us. And by the world, I don't mean the universe or God. I mean the social conditioning that has disconnected us from our body. In my own investigations over the past years, I have found that there are agendas specifically that are at play for us to stay disconnected from our body and our souls. It has fueled me even more to understand what is maybe playing at the larger scale, and what internally we can feel we're being called to again. And this is why this conversation around sacred union is so important, because it is a return to recognize, to embrace our humanity, and truly honor the more energetic experience that we have beyond just the physical body, that soul level kind of whispers that we get throughout our lifetime, that bring us to meet different people at different times, that allow us to awaken to a more almost like magical relationship with the world around us. We start to tap into the energetics, the subtle layers of what's truly real, what's truly embedded in love, what's truly beautifully conscious and in service to life, versus what plugs and takes us away from anything that is life-giving, right? So when we begin to master this relationship with ourselves, you can really show up on your path in love on way more of a deeper, truthful level where whether you're single or in a relationship, right? What I'm talking about is no matter where you're at on your journey, what we want is truth, the true essence, not just our mental level of appearing as how we think we should appear, right? Communicating from a way we think we should communicate. No, coming to our true essence of the honesty and the vulnerability of what's really going on behind closed eyes and open eyes. What's going on behind these eyes? What are we really sensing and feeling? How can we take radical responsibility and understanding for that space? So we no longer project on other people, but we can share and communicate as we feel is important and also allow that space for another being. When we do that, when you do that with your partner, with your future partner, there the field of energy between you becomes so potent, so powerful, so real, right? You can feel each other. There's a natural intimacy that happens because there's no barriers between you anymore. You're like, I see me, I feel me, I know me, I'm open to becoming more of me, and I see you, I feel you, and I'm open to learning more about you. Instead of coming to each other at a defined way of being, you can have an opening where you can actually create something new. And that's the beautiful trinity that even is, shown through the beautiful cosmic relationship between a man and a woman, the yin and the yang. And take two people who have really learned and practiced and embodied that level of unconditional love within themselves, right? A lifelong practice for all of us. But as much as we can, returning to that love within us, two people, man and woman coming together, return to love, holding that open space for each other, choosing to be drawn together by that intimate, beautiful, truthful space, right? Effortless, pure. And they choose to have a child from their love, from that pureness. A third literal world is born. Like, that's crazy. It's so amazing and immaculate. And how I feel like we've lost the sacredness of how beautiful that is and how powerful and how important. From what I have learned, that is part of the agenda to disconnect man and women from one another, to have people be super confused about their own femininity and masculinity, to disrupt that union from coming together. If they disrupt that, then guess what? Less human population goes down, right? Because sexuality is actually one of the most sacred parts of us, but it has been so distorted, so taken over to have people disconnect from their bodies and the purity of what sexuality really offers us, that we're literally heading towards a future right now where we're looking at humans merging with technology, where we won't need to have that union between two souls, two human souls anymore, because it's going to be as simple as placing a chip in or having artificial tech babies. It's crazy. It's actually nuts. It's where we're heading though. And for me, understand now so deeply, where my own soul has been guiding me, like the truth of my own soul. And I definitely got caught up in my own journey in feeling confused and focusing, I think, on the wrong areas. Even porn, right? Using porn as a means of having almost this artificial relationship with my sexuality when I was in a partnership. Porn is a way that feeds into actually having us disconnect from that beautiful intimacy that can actually be shared between two people in their purest form. It has us being addicted to the chase of that peak, right? Orgasm or release. But I have seen time and time again how that creates a cycle of disconnect, and that actually impedes on a relationship between a couple. And whether you're same sex or not, there definitely are beautiful conversations we can have about all relationships, but I'm specifically speaking to the woman and man relationship. It really just creates a more of a chase than an embodiment of this true love and this true activation and life of present moment living. And I'm really on a journey to bring the sacredness back into our awareness. Back in the ancient civilizations, there were rites of passage when we were younger. There was a communion with nature, a respect for nature that we've absolutely lost. There was a respect and initiation for women who birthed and are the portals for next generations. There was rites of passages for women and men coming together and honoring the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And so I'm on this exciting journey to try and bring those rights and those messages and conversations, not only in my own life, but also into the Flow True community. And I know there are people around the world who are also tapping into, we got to remember that ancient part of ourselves, that ancient part of humanity that got lost along the way. We got to start honoring and bringing these back, because that actually is in true union and the most natural form of how we can flow through this life. I know it's easy to say, and I'm here very enthusiastically sharing and transmitting this awakening of sacredness. But I know maybe later on today or in a few days, maybe you're going to get lost a bit of this connection and you're going to be like, I got all these things to do and blah, 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 right? All that like day-to-day stuff. And that's okay. We want to give grace to this process where we're just fanning the flames to recognize that even if we go into ebbs and flows of knowing and remembering the sacredness, that doesn't mean the sacredness isn't here. It doesn't mean the sacredness is gone when we don't remember it in that moment. It's always going to be here. Always, 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 always. We want to decondition and deprogram from all the fear-based messages we have and come back into sovereignty to our soul's mission. Our soul's mission to live life to the fullest, to experience so many different things where we can actually begin to sense and understand life on a deeper level. And yes, it's true, kind of the more you see and the more you know, the less you know kind of thing. You're like, wow, there's just so much here. And that's kind of the most beautiful part, where we get to experience it all. And we get to come into union with how we want to experience it all, the good, the bad, the light, the dark, the clarity, the chaos. How are we going to hold it all within our own being? And that starts by reclaiming and loving unconditionally the parts within us that felt chaotic, confusing, we shamed, we said we're wrong. We got to start there first, right? So coming into union with our mind, recognizing the outdated stories, coming into union with our body, bringing our body's intelligence along for the ride, right where our nervous system is held, where our breath is stored and recharges us into the present moment, coming into sacred union with the life force around us, having gratitude, deep gratitude for the people in our lives, the experiences, good and bad, that we've had that allow us to come back into union with what we know to be true, to express what we believe is true from a state of embodiment, from a state and level of our soul. And this is how we begin to operate on our own timeline, into union with a true pace, the true pace of how our soul is meant to live in this life. I mentioned AI technology, it's here, and that train ain't stopping, right? It's going to just keep accelerating. That doesn't mean that our body can keep up with that or is meant to keep up with it. In fact, we're like slowing down as everything else is increasing. So this invitation of sacred union is to really create more balance and distance between technology, knowing, we got to use it. So many of us use it on a day-to-day basis to communicate, for business, for work, for whatever. So having just more of a healthy, conscious, mindful relationship with it. It's a little counterintuitive to think, oh, I can slow down and I can operate in this present moment. What? What? Yes. Yes, it's going to feel counterintuitive. You're probably going to feel resistance, but it's absolutely possible. And it is the key to a deeper, more beautiful, more happy, joyful, loving, real, raw, truthful, honest relationship with yourself. And that's going to translate to your romantic partnership, to the family you cultivate, to the relationships you have on all levels, family to work, the world at large.